Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between the mountains and the river, lived two brothers named Kojo and Kwaku. Their father was a hard-working farmer who had labored his whole life to provide for his family. Before he passed away, he gathered his two sons and entrusted them with a heavy responsibility. In a small wooden box, he placed all the gold coins he had saved over the years, which were the fruit of his lifelong toil. "My sons," he said weakly, "this gold is for both of you. Use it wisely and never let greed come between you. Always look out for each other and share what you have." Kojo, the elder brother, was known for being responsible and hardworking. He had inherited their father's wisdom and steady hand. Kwaku, on the other hand, was younger and carefree. He loved the idea of wealth but never appreciated the hard work it took to gain it. Despite their differences, the brothers respected their father's wishes and placed the box of gold in a secure part of their home. Years went by, and the brothers worked together on their father's farm. Though they were not wealthy, they had enough to eat and live comfortably. However, as time passed, Kwaku grew restless. He began to dream of a life beyond the village, a life filled with luxury, far away from the endless fields of crops and the simple people they lived among. One day, after a particularly tiring day on the farm, Kwaku approached his elder brother. "Kojo," he said, "don't you ever get tired of this life? Look at us, we work day in and day out, but what do we have to show for it? We could use some of father's gold to start a business in the city. Imagine the riches we could have." Kojo shook his head. "Father gave us that gold for a reason. It is meant to secure our future, not to be wasted on dreams of riches. We have all we need right here. Patience, Kwaku. Our time will come." Kwaku did not agree, but he kept his thoughts to himself. That night, as Kojo slept, Kwaku couldn't resist the temptation any longer. He quietly got out of bed, tiptoed to the room where the gold was kept, and opened the box. His heart raced as he grabbed a handful of the shining coins. Without a second thought, he tucked them into a cloth and left the house, disappearing into the night. Kwaku's journey led him to the bustling city. He was dazzled by the lights, the noise, and the promise of adventure. He spent the gold recklessly, buying fine clothes, eating at the best inns, and mingling with people who only cared for him as long as he had money to spend. Within weeks, the gold was nearly gone. Meanwhile, back in the village, Kojo woke up to find his brother missing. When he checked the box, his worst fears were confirmed: much of the gold had been stolen. Kojo was heartbroken. He knew that Kwaku had always been impatient, but he never imagined his own brother would betray him in this way. Weeks passed, and Kwaku's situation grew worse. As his gold ran out, so did the attention of his so-called friends. He was left alone in the city, with no money and nowhere to go. The luxurious life he had dreamed of was gone, and he had nothing left to his name. Desperate and ashamed, Kwaku returned to the village. His clothes were tattered, and his face was marked with regret. He stood at the entrance of the family home, unsure if Kojo would even speak to him after what he had done. As he approached the door, Kojo stepped outside, his face solemn. "I see you've come back," Kojo said, his voice calm but heavy with disappointment. "Brother, I made a mistake," Kwaku stammered, looking down at his feet. "I was foolish. I took the gold, thinking it would make me happy, but it only brought me misery. I have nothing left." Kojo sighed deeply. "Kwaku, our father warned us about this. He told us not to let greed come between us. You not only betrayed his trust but mine as well." "I know," Kwaku whispered, his voice trembling. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I have nowhere else to go. Please, let me come back. I will work hard to make things right." Kojo looked at his brother for a long moment. He could see the regret in Kwaku's eyes, but he also knew the damage that had been done. Still, he remembered their father's words about looking out for each other. Father always said we should take care of one another, Kojo said slowly. I will let you stay, but things won't be the same. You will have to work hard to earn back my trust. Kwako nodded eagerly. I will do whatever it takes. True to his word, Kwako worked tirelessly from that day forward. He rose early every morning, helping Kojo on the farm and doing everything he could to repair the bond he had broken. At first, Kojo kept his distance, still hurt by his brother's betrayal. But as time passed, he began to see the change in Kwako. The once carefree and reckless young man had learned a hard lesson, and he was determined to prove himself. Months went by, and slowly, the brothers began to rebuild their relationship. One day, as they sat together after a long day of work, Kojo finally spoke the words Kwako had been hoping to hear. I forgive you, Kwako, Kojo said quietly. I can see you've changed. Kwako looked at his brother, tears welling up in his eyes. Thank you, Kojo. I promise I will never let greed blind me again. I've learned that true wealth isn't in gold, but in family and trust. Kojo smiled faintly. Father's gold was supposed to help us, but it also taught us a lesson: no amount of money can replace the bond between brothers. From that day on, the two brothers worked side by side, not just as family but as friends. They no longer thought of the gold that had been stolen or the mistakes that had been made. Instead, they focused on the future, knowing that the wealth they truly valued was their relationship and the lessons they had learned.